Welcome, dear viewers, to History and Stories, where we delve into the annals of time to uncover the events that have shaped our world. Join me as we navigate the intricate tapestry of the past, shedding light on the moments that have defined our present and will continue to shape our future. The summer of 1914, a seemingly ordinary day in Sarajevo, a city steeped in history and nestled amidst the rugged Balkan landscape. Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, and his beloved wife Sophie, embarked on a fateful journey through the city streets. Little did they know, a deadly plot was afoot, orchestrated by a clandestine group of Serbian nationalists. As the Archduke's motorcade made its way through the crowded streets, a young Gavrilo Princip, armed with a pistol, saw his opportunity. A shot rang out, piercing the summer air. The Archduke and his wife lay mortally wounded, their lives tragically cut short. This singular act of violence sent shockwaves through the courts of Europe, setting in motion a chain of events that would plunge the world into war. Austria-Hungary, enraged by the assassination, issued an ultimatum to Serbia demanding retribution. The intricate web of alliances that had long held Europe in a precarious balance began to unravel. One by one, nations were drawn into the conflict, their destinies intertwined in a deadly game of political chess. Germany, bound by treaty to Austria-Hungary, pledged its unwavering support. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand had ignited a global conflict that would forever alter the course of human history. The guns fell silent on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918. A hush fell over the battlefields of Europe, a continent scarred and exhausted after 4 long years of devastating war. The Great War had finally come to an end. In the aftermath, the victorious Allied powers gathered in the opulent Palace of Versailles, just outside Paris, their task to forge a lasting peace and redraw the map of Europe. At the heart of the negotiations was the Treaty of Versailles, a document that would dictate the terms of peace and shape the destiny of nations. Germany, deemed the aggressor, was forced to accept sole responsibility for the war and its devastating consequences. The terms imposed upon Germany were harsh and unforgiving. The Treaty of Versailles, hailed by some as a triumph of justice, sowed the seeds of future conflict. The seeds of resentment planted deep within the German psyche would fester and grow, setting the stage for another devastating conflict. The year is 1945. The world, ravaged by 6 long years of global conflict, stands on the precipice of a new and terrifying era. In the top-secret laboratories of the Manhattan Project, a team of brilliant scientists had toiled tirelessly. Their creation, a weapon of unimaginable destructive power, the atomic bomb. As the war in the Pacific raged on, the United States faced a formidable foe in the Japanese Empire. President Harry S. Truman, faced with an agonizing decision, chose to unleash the atomic bomb upon Japan. On August 6, 1945, a B-29 bomber, the Enola Gay, dropped a single atomic bomb on Hiroshima. The world watched in horror as images of the devastation emerged. Yet Japan refused to surrender. 3 days later, another atomic bomb was dropped on Nagasaki. Faced with the unimaginable destructive power of the atomic bomb, Emperor Hirohito made the momentous decision to surrender, bringing an end to World War II. The atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki marked a turning point in human history, ushering in the nuclear age. The year is 1962. The world watches with bated breath as 2 superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union, engage in a dangerous game of nuclear chicken. At the heart of the crisis lies the island nation of Cuba, just 90 miles off the coast of Florida. The Soviet Union, led by Nikita Khrushchev, had begun installing nuclear-armed missiles on Cuban soil. For 13 tense days in October 1962, the world held its breath, fearing that a miscalculation could trigger a nuclear holocaust. President John F. Kennedy, faced with an unprecedented crisis, assembled a group of advisors to chart a course of action. The options were stark: a full-scale invasion of Cuba or a naval blockade. As tensions reached a fever pitch with U.S. warships steaming towards Cuba and Soviet ships approaching the blockade line, the world braced for the worst. Messages were exchanged between Washington and Moscow, each side trying to decipher the other's intentions. In a moment that would forever be etched in history, a single Soviet ship, the Alexandrovsk, approached the U.S. blockade line, then slowly turned back. the Cuban Missile Crisis, a stark reminder of the fragility of peace in the nuclear age, served as a pivotal moment in the Cold War. The year is 1947. After centuries of British rule, the Indian subcontinent is on the cusp of independence. As the British prepared to withdraw, the subcontinent was engulfed in a maelstrom of violence between its two largest religious communities, Hindus and Muslims. In a desperate bid to quell the unrest, the British government, under Lord Mountbatten, made the momentous decision to partition British India into two independent states, India and Pakistan. The partition, hastily drawn up and poorly executed, triggered one of the largest mass migrations in human history. The partition was a tragedy of epic proportions, marked by widespread violence, displacement, and loss of life. The legacy of partition continues to cast a long shadow over the Indian subcontinent. The jungles of Vietnam became a battleground for a different kind of war, a war that would divide a nation and leave an indelible mark on American history. The Vietnam War, a protracted and bloody conflict, was born out of the Cold War's ideological struggle between communism and democracy. The United States, fearing the domino effect of communism spreading throughout Southeast Asia, became increasingly entangled in the conflict. The war escalated throughout the 1960s, with the United States deploying hundreds of thousands of troops to the region. The conflict was marked by brutal jungle warfare, heavy casualties, and a growing anti-war sentiment back home. Despite years of fighting and heavy losses, the United States ultimately failed to achieve its objectives in Vietnam. Watergate, a word synonymous with political scandal, shook the foundations of American democracy. What began as a seemingly minor break-in at the Democratic National Committee headquarters in the Watergate Hotel in Washington, D.C., in 1972, would unravel into a major political scandal. The break-in was part of a larger campaign of political espionage and sabotage, orchestrated by members of Nixon's re-election campaign. As investigators dug deeper, a web of lies, cover-ups, and abuses of power began to unravel. The Watergate scandal left an indelible mark on American politics, eroding public trust in government and raising serious questions about the abuse of presidential power. Chapter 8: The Iraq War, a controversial intervention. The 21st century began with a world still grappling with the legacy of the 20th. The attacks of September 11, 2001 on the United States ushered in a new era of global terrorism. In 2003, the United States, along with a coalition of allies, invaded Iraq, citing the threat posed by Saddam Hussein's regime. The Iraq War proved to be a highly controversial and divisive conflict, with critics questioning the Bush administration's justification for the war. The war and its aftermath had a profound impact on the Middle East, destabilizing the region and leading to the rise of new terrorist groups, such as ISIS. Chapter 9: Brexit, the United Kingdom chooses a different path. In the heart of Europe, a historic referendum sent shockwaves across the continent and beyond. The United Kingdom, a long-standing member of the European Union, voted to leave the bloc. The Brexit referendum, held in 2016, exposed deep divisions within British society. The UK's departure from the EU, known as Brexit, has had a significant impact on the country's economy, politics, and place in the world. Chapter 10: The COVID-19 Pandemic Navigating Uncharted Territory. In the early months of 2020, a novel coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2, emerged in Wuhan, China, rapidly spreading across the globe. The COVID-19 pandemic presented governments worldwide with unprecedented challenges. Lockdowns, travel restrictions, mask mandates, and social distancing measures became the new normal. The pandemic had a profound impact on every aspect of life, from healthcare systems to economies, education to social interactions. Outro reflecting on history's crossroads. From the assassination that ignited a world war to the pandemic that brought life as we knew it to a standstill, we've journeyed through some of history's most pivotal and controversial decisions. If you found this exploration of history's turning points as captivating as I did, be sure to subscribe to History and Stories for more thought-provoking journeys into the past. Let's continue the conversation and learn from the past as we navigate the present and shape the future.